In today's video, we'll talk about how SpaceX Dragon spacecraft has docked at the International Space Station. During the Cold War era, humanity made great strides toward space exploration, fueled by the rigid rivalry between the USSR and the US. After decades, we're seeing the same effort. However, this time the effort is being fueled by the rivalry between private space companies. So make sure you stay till the end of the video to find out all about it. First, the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft docks at the International Space Station. As of right now, there are two companies in the private sphere that are competing with each other, SpaceX and Blue Origin. The competition between the two is driving space exploration to new heights. And since both companies aren't government agencies, they're also looking to make money. Now, we don't mean to sound too capitalist, but this is extremely beneficial for humanity. Both entities are trying to look for mining solutions in space, trash dumping solutions, and for us to settle on Mars eventually. This might just be what we need to continue surviving as a species, since we're depleting all the resources on our planet and at the same time filling up our land with trash. This time around, it's SpaceX that's given us the good news. The SpaceX Dragon cargo capsule successfully docked itself to the front-facing port of the International Space Station, which is also known as ISS, just last Saturday. This is not just good news. This is awesome news. This particular spacecraft might even be smarter than us humans. Like, how many of us know how to dock a capsule to the ISS? Well, Dragon, as they like to call it, dock the capsule autonomously with the station's Harmony module. However, credit must also go to NASA astronauts. Astronauts Jessica Watkins and Bob Hines monitor the operations from the station. Now let's talk about the details of the flight itself. The capsule was robotic. It lifted off from a two-stage Falcon 9 rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on Thursday, 3 days before the capsule attached itself to the ISS. The flight was named CRS-25, and it was initially scheduled for early June. However, because the Dragon spacecraft leaked into its propulsion system, officials grounded the flight. This mission is the 25th flight to the ISS under SpaceX's commercial resupply services contract with NASA. It flew close to a whopping 6,000 pounds, or 2,700 kilograms of supplies and payloads. The cargo even included NASA's climate instrument, which will be mounted outside the ISS. The spacecraft will spend 1 month attached to the ISS. Then it will return to Earth, bringing us some cargo and data for research. The science experiments that were delivered to the ISS from this spacecraft include the mineral dust source investigation, which is also known as EMIT. EMIT will help scientists understand the effects of mineral dust on humans. It will also help to investigate how microgravity affects the immune system during flight. Okay, but what is EMIT? When governments or companies are working on space exploration or even complicated and expensive experiments on Earth, the one question many people have is, why is so much money being wasted on all of this? What will the common man gain? Isn't it better we just focus on the problems down here first? Well, not really. For example, the space race that began during the Cold War era gave us so many inventions that have made life so much easier and sustainable down here on Earth. The list of inventions we got from the space race is vast. They include solar panels, firefighting equipment, medical imaging techniques, durable healthcare equipment, weather-resistant airplanes, and the list goes on. Just like that, this new journey by Dragon will also help us in the long run. Now let's talk about EMIT, which we mentioned earlier in the video. Mineral dust which blows around the air can travel significant distances. This affects the Earth's climate, weather, and most importantly, our agriculture. For example, an area that is used to light-colored dust might get some dark dust, which absorbs sunlight. This will drastically affect the vegetation in that area, something we need to be cautious of. Not only that, but it will also help us understand how dust impacts the speed at which snow melts and ocean phytoplankton health. And this mapping could also explain how mineral dust affects us, and could also help us come up with solutions for when we need to avoid it. Lastly, this might just help us live longer. For us to understand how this helps us live longer, let's take a quick minute to discuss immunosenescence. This is a process of immune dysfunction that happens as we age. This includes the remodeling of lymphoid organs, which then leads to changes in immune function. This affects the elderly. When people die of old age, this is what kills us. Immunosenescence is closely related to infections, malignant tumors, and autoimmune diseases. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's discuss the interesting experiment that'll be carried out because of SpaceX's Dragon. Microgravity causes changes in human immune cells, which resemble immunosenescence, which of course is a problem. But a bigger problem is that it happens much faster than the actual process of aging on Earth. There are tissue chips on board the spacecraft, which contain human cells in a 3D structure. This will allow us to understand how these cells will respond to genetic changes, drugs, and stress. According to Sonia Schreff, Schaffer, principal investigator and professor of surgery at UCSF. Immune aging impacts tissue stem cells and their ability to repair tissues and organs. Our studies aim to understand critical pathways to prevent and reverse aging of immune cells. Co-investigator Tobias Dews states that spaceflight conditions enable the study of immune aging that would not be feasible in the lab. So there you have it, folks. The results obtained from the study, which became possible just because of Dragon, might end up helping us live longer. With that said, there's some other interesting news coming from SpaceX. Let's delve right into it. First, SpaceX's Starship booster explodes on the launch site. SpaceX has been preparing a rocket for its first orbital launch. This rocket was called the Starship Booster. Elon's long-term plan for these starships is to enable humans to live on Mars. Not just get them there, but also sustain them once they're on the red planet. Just last month, he sent out a tweet, his favorite method of communication, stating that he has plans to build 1,000 plus starships to transport life to Mars. He called it a very modern version of Noah's Ark. Anyway, he had hoped that the Starship would be ready for launch this month, but it looks like the booster had other plans. His plans to send humans to Mars before 2050 have been dealt a huge blow after an explosion of the booster that rocked the launch site. A video surfaced where a component of the Tesla owner's SpaceX Starship seemed to have exploded in Boca Chica, Texas. The launch was being live-streamed by NASA Spaceflight, a news website, a forum which launched in 2005. In the live stream of the event, commentators could be heard saying, "Wow," several times over. However, there is some good news. Elon Musk has assured us that the rocket booster should be returning to the launch pad by next week. Probably. He implied that the damage is minor and should be fixed soon. Next, will SpaceX be making toys? Mattel, a renowned toy manufacturer, and SpaceX have inked a multi-year deal to create toys that are inspired by the space venture. This deal was announced 2 days ago. The California-based company expects to launch the SpaceX product line by 2023. This was announced ahead of the anniversary of when humans first touched their feet on the moon in 1969. However, financial terms were not announced. This is not the first time SpaceX has ventured into selling merchandise. They've been doing it for quite some time now. However, their product lineup just targets adults with shirts, jackets, and water bottles. This is the first time they'll be targeting kids as well. With the help of Mattel, SpaceX can start selling plush dolls, building sets, and much more. On top of that, it's not only kids that'll bring in revenue, but also the collector's market. SpaceX hopes this will bring them not only money, but also recognition. Lastly, say hello to more internet thanks to SpaceX. SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 first-stage rocket booster for a record equaling 13th time on the 17th of July. This launch vehicle carried 53 SpaceX Starlink satellites towards orbit. The launch happened in Florida. The addition of 53 more satellites will make their internet service even more reliable and cover a wider area. Thanks to these satellites, we may now see high-speed internet in the most remote corners of the planet. However, we may not see the record-breaking 14th time soon. This is because SpaceX now has a busy schedule ahead of itself, with NASA contracts to fulfill. Well, that's all we have for you today. Do you have high expectations for the medical research being conducted on this flight? Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye.